The settlement hall was thick with wood smoke and low voices, but one laugh cut through like a blade.
A fire in a grave. That's what you are building, isn't it, Michael Reeves? Sinking your hearth below the floor? You'll smother the flames and freeze your family by morning.
It's not a grave. The stone holds heat. It's safer from drafts and sparks than any raised chimney.
Laughter rippled through the crowd. Raymond leaned forward, enjoying the audience.
Safer. Tell that to the first winter storm when your floor swallows the fire whole.
Let them laugh now. When the cold snaps, they'll wish they'd listened.
Michael pushed through the door without another word, stepping into the frozen night.
I'll start digging tonight. By winter's end, no one will call it a grave.
The laughter still rang inside the hall, but Michael heard only the sound of stone waiting to be set. Michael pushed open the cabin door, the cold still clinging to his coat.
You look like a man who's been chewing on nails. What did they say?
Raymond called it a fire in a grave. They all laughed. I am starting the pit tonight.
Michael, if you are wrong about this, the cold will kill us all. Are you certain?
I've felt the drafts in every cabin. Heat rises and escapes. Down low, the stone will hold it.
Without waiting, he seized the pickaxe and drove it into the floorboards. The children huddled by the wall, watching their father sink into the earth. For hours, the pickaxe rose and fell. His shoulders burned, but the pit deepened.
It has to be deep enough. The stone needs a bed. We'll line it tomorrow.
He stood in the dark hollow, mud to his knees, and felt the earth's cold promise. The next morning, Michael wrapped his hands in leather strips and stepped into the bitter air. The stream waited, frozen and heavy with stone.
Still digging your grave? Now you are hauling stones to fill it.
Let him talk. Every stone I haul is one less cold night my family endures.
At the stream, Ilara and the children waded into the shallows, prying loose flat rocks from the frozen bank.
Michael, these stones are so cold. Will they really hold heat?
They'll hold. Once we line the pit, the fire will warm them, and they'll give it back through the night.
The sled groaned under the weight as Michael hauled the first load back toward the cabin.
Waste of good stone. You'll have to dig it all out again come spring.
Back inside, Michael lowered the first stone into the pit, fitting it against the cold earth. The stone settled with a heavy finality, as though the house itself had made a decision. Michael worked the rest of the day, fitting stone after stone until the pit was lined with dark river rock.
It's ready. Call the children. Let's see if this grave can give life.
He knelt, struck flint, and watched the first spark catch the dry moss. The tiny flame barely held.
It's so low. I barely feel the draft. The flame is standing straight.
Stay low, stay steady. No wind will touch you here. The stone will remember your warmth.
The flames grew, and the family drew close, the circle of warmth pulling them together.
Sit closer, children. Warm your hands. Your father has given us something new tonight.
When the fire died to embers, Michael laid his palm flat on the nearest stone.
It holds. The heat is still there, still giving back. The night will not steal it all.
In that quiet darkness, he knew the gamble was not yet won, but it was no longer lost. Through the dark hours, the stones surrendered their borrowed heat, one slow breath at a time.
I never knew a floor could feel warm under my feet. The children haven't stirred.
It's working. But the real test will be a storm. Can the low fire breathe when the wind screams?
Outside, the first gusts of the evening moaned through the pines, a distant warning. Inside, the only sound was the soft crackle of dying embers and the quiet breathing of the family.
If the wind gets into the chimney tops, every house will be smoking. But here, the fire is below the floor. The wind can't reach it.
You are thinking about the storm, aren't you? I hear it in the trees.
It'll be a hard one, but we've done everything we can. Rest now.
The wind rose to a howl, rattling the shutters. Snow began to pelt the windows like tiny fists, but the floor under the blankets stayed warm, and the darkness held no draft. The blizzard screamed across the settlement, burying roofs and snapping branches like dry sticks. In a raised hearth cabin, the flames fought the wind pouring down the chimney, guttering and smoking. A spark flew from the hearth and hissed on the stone floor, inches from a wool rug. But in Michael's home, the fire burned low and steady, sheltered below the floor. He rose in the dark and looked into the pit. The embers glowed like a calm heartbeat.
The storm is out there, clawing at the walls, but down here it can't find us.
Ilara and the children slept on, their faces untroubled by the cold. Elsewhere, a family huddled close, feeding the fire scraps to keep it alive against the draft. Through the long night, Michael's hearth asked for nothing, gave back everything. When morning broke, the cabin was still warm, the stones only just cooling. Michael walked barefoot across the cabin floor, the stones still holding last night's heat.
Not even a chill. The storm tested it, and it held.
Outside, a crowd gathered where a cabin's roof had been scorched by a stray spark. A settler kicked at a collapsed chimney stone, cursing the draft that nearly killed his family.
Lucky. The wind just didn't hit his place right. Next time, his floor will be a cold grave.
I heard his floor was still warm this morning. That's not luck.
Boy, don't be fooled by one night. Old ways work for a reason.
Finn didn't answer, but his eyes stayed on Michael's cabin, thoughtful.
Skepticism I expected, but some are starting to wonder. That's enough.
The cold facts sat like the snowdrifts, undeniable, but only for those who chose to see. That night, in his own cabin, Raymond fed his raised hearth until the flames roared. A sudden gust howled down the chimney, and a bright spark flew across the room. It landed on the sleeve of his coat, the wool smoking instantly.
Curse this chimney. Another inch, and my whole arm would be ablaze.
He beat out the ember, but his hand trembled long after the smoke cleared. By dawn, the tale reached Michael's ears. He saw Raymond outside, wrestling with firewood, as if the logs had insulted him.
Don't stand there looking. It was nothing.
That scorched sleeve is a warning he won't hear. Pride is a stubborn fuel.
Michael said nothing. He knew pushing a man in the wrong direction only made him lean the other way. The silence between them settled, colder than any night, proof that pride could freeze a man before winter ever did. The next morning, before the sun broke the frost, Finn Harrow walked to Michael Reeves's door.
Michael, I can't stop thinking about your hearth. During the storm, my family huddled by a dying fire while yours slept warm. I want to learn.
It's simple in principle, Finn. Fire below the floor. The wind can't disturb it. Stone absorbs the heat and gives it back slow. I'll show you.
They walked to Finn's cabin together, Michael's voice low and steady, mapping the work ahead.
Right in the middle of the floor. That's a big job, but after last night, I'll dig to China if I have to.
A few settlers, drawn by the sound of voices, paused outside the window, watching. Finn swung the pickaxe. The floorboards cracked, and the first clods of earth flew. Michael hauled stones from the stream, while Finn dug the same river rock that lined his own hearth. They worked side by side, the rhythm of stone and soil pushing back against the cold. By dusk, the first course of stones sat in the pit, a black square promise in the floor. 2 days later, the last stone was laid and the mortar set. Finn stood back, hands blistered, but eyes bright.
It's finished. Wish me luck.
He struck the flint. The first low flames caught and held, steady as a heartbeat.
It's working. No draft, no smoke, just like Michael's.
Word spread through the settlement. By evening, a small crowd had gathered outside Finn's cabin, peering through the window. Is it true? Does it really work? The question passed from mouth to mouth, in white clouds of breath.
Followers fire. Just wait till a real storm hits.
But his words fell flat. The air was too warm with hope.
It's the real thing, Michael. Just like you said.
3 more families asked Michael for help that night. Raymond's shadow across the snow grew longer, but he walked home alone. A week later, the temperature plunged. The second cold snap bit harder than the first. Through the settlement, the new sunken hearths glowed, untouched by the wind. But in Raymond's cabin, the raised hearth fought drafts. Ice formed on the inside walls.
No matter how much wood I burn, the heat escapes. The chimney is a thief.
2 more families went to Michael. Their pride surrendered to the memory of his warm floor.
I won't refuse anyone. Let them come. It's not about being right anymore.
The settlement changed. The smell of smoke promised steady warmth, not danger.
His old certainty cracked like frost on a window, but he still couldn't say the words.
That night, the wind screamed. Raymond sat in the dark, huddled by embers. The cold crept through his blankets, whispering what he would not hear. He fed the fire one last time, but a gust roared down the chimney and sent another spark arcing across the room. It landed on a wool rug near his feet. The fibers glowed, and then a small flame licked up.
That's on the rug. Stamp it, quick.
He threw his weight onto the flaring rug, smothering it against the cold stone floor. When he lifted his boot, the charred wool smoked, but the danger was past.
Another inch, and that spark would have cost everything. I am gambling with death.
His hands shook as he picked up the charred rug, the evidence undeniable.
I can't live like this. But asking Michael means admitting defeat to the whole settlement.
He stood frozen, pride warring with fear, the silence heavy around him. The wind screamed, and he made no decision, only shuffled closer to the dying coals. By morning, the charred rug hung from Raymond's porch like a banner of shame. Michael saw it and made a decision.
Raymond, I heard about the sparks. Let me help you build one. No cost, no gloating. Just a safe fire.
How dare he offer me charity? I'd rather freeze than let him think I need his pit of tricks. Devil's work. That's what your fire is. A heathen pit. I'll not have it in my home. You hear me? Take your offer and bury it. I'd rather burn than crawl to you.
So be it. I can't force wisdom into a man who loves his own pride more than his own skin.
Michael did not argue. He nodded once, the weight of the moment settling between them. He walked away, the snow crunching under his boots, leaving Raymond to his frozen chapel of pride.
Hay's gone. Good. I don't need his strange fire. But why does my house feel colder than before?
The door to reason had been opened and slammed shut. Now, only the storm could be his teacher.
I'll show them all. There's an old trapper's cabin up north with better stone. I'll build a real fireplace.
He wrapped a meager supply of dried meat and a flask of water, his movements jerky and rushed.
No one will pity me. I'll return with stone and show them that a true chimney isn't dead.
He stepped out into the biting air, not looking back at the warm-lit windows of the settlement.
The trapper's cabin is half a day's walk. I've done harder journeys in worse snow.
The forest swallowed him quickly, the trees blurring into a wall of white.
This cold is deeper than I remember, but I won't turn back. Not now.
The trail vanished under fresh drifts. Every step sank to his knee, the pack pulling him off balance.
This was foolish, but better to die trying my own way than crawling back to Michael.
The wind increased, howling through the pines, drowning out all but the sound of his own labored breath. He pushed on, but every tree looked the same. The trail a memory swallowed by snow.
Where's the fork in the creek? It should be here. I've gone wrong.
He turned in a circle, the forest closing in, the wind mocking his confusion.
This is no longer about stone. If I can't find shelter, I won't see morning.
The light bled out of the sky faster than he'd ever seen. Darkness came like a falling axe.
So this is where pride leads. Frozen alone, forgotten, with no one to blame but myself.
His legs buckled. He dropped to his knees in the deep snow, the pack pulling him down.
Can't go on. Maybe just a little rest, only for a moment. Then I'll move.
He slumped against a pine, the bark biting his back, the cold seeping into his marrow. For the first time in his life, Raymond whispered a prayer into the indifferent wind. When dawn finally broke, a shape emerged from the white wilderness. A long, low ruin, buried to its eaves.
A building, old but standing. Shelter.
He half crawled through a collapsed doorway, shaking off snow, and stumbled into the darkness. Inside, the ancient longhouse was a skeleton of beams, snow falling through gaps. But the wind was gone.
What sort of people lived here? This place is older than any cabin I know.
His eyes, adjusting to the gloom, traced the floor to a perfect ring of stones in the very center. A sunken hearth. The stones were worn smooth by centuries of fires, charcoal still dark in the cracks.
It's a fire pit below the floor, like Michael's, but this was built long before any of us.
He stood motionless, his breath catching, the truth colder than the snow outside.
I mocked a wisdom older than memory. The old ones knew, and I called it a grave.
He took a step forward, then another, until he knelt before the ancient hearth, the cold stone inches from his knees.
These stones were placed by hands that knew what I refused to learn. How many winters did they survive because of this fire?
His fingers traced the worn edges, the charcoal smudging his skin like an ancient confession.
I called Michael's hearth a grave, but the only grave here was my own pride, burying the truth alive.
He stayed there, unmoving, as the snow continued its gentle fall through the broken roof.
I nearly died last night because I was too stubborn to listen. This place saved me, but Michael's design would have kept me warm all winter.
The stone was not new magic. It was memory, older than any settlement map.
I will go back. I have to tell him. To tell Michael that he was right. Not for him, but because the truth demands it.
With joints aching and pride now only a ghost, he pushed himself upright, facing the journey home.
I'll carry this truth back like a stone in my chest. Heavy, but it will keep me moving through the snow.
Raymond trudged back into the settlement, his pack lighter, but his heart heavier than any load of stone he'd ever carried. At Michael's door, he raised a fist, then let it hang, the wood a barrier tougher than any frozen ground. Michael opened it, the warm light spilling out, and for a moment neither man spoke.
I saw it in the longhouse, an old ruin. There was a hearth just like yours, worn by centuries. I called it a grave, but it was older than memory. You were right. I was wrong, Michael.
You are not the first to mistake wisdom for folly. Come in from the cold. We have work to do.
Raymond stepped over the threshold, into the warmth of the sunken fire, and the quiet grace of a man who held no grudge.
I don't deserve this. After all I said, all my pride.
No man deserves the cold. The fire doesn't ask who you were yesterday. It only asks if you'll sit with it tonight.
And so, with the hearth burning steady below, the last wall of pride crumbled, and the settlement finally became whole. They sat together near the sunken fire, the silence no longer a wall but a bridge.
The longhouse was ancient, Michael. In the center, a pit of stones, just like this, charcoal still in the cracks.
I never claimed to be clever. I just watched the wind rob every raised chimney and thought, what if the fire was lower?
And I called it a grave. I was blind. But now, I want to see my own floor hold a fire like this. Will you help me build one? I want to end this winter without another spark, without another cold night.
We start tomorrow. The stream still has stone, and your back is strong. It won't take long.
They clasped hands, the pact sealed not in words but in the steady heat rising from the floor.
This fire doesn't judge, it just warms. Maybe that's the oldest truth of all.
The fire crackled, and the two men sat together. The past now only ash. Outside, the snow continued its silent work. But inside, the first lesson had been learned. Wisdom endures beneath our feet.
Time to tear out the old danger.
With Michael's help, the raised hearth came down stone by stone, dust filling the cabin like a long-held breath released. They dug the new pit together, the rhythm of pick and shovel, replacing the memory of old arguments. Stone by stone, they lined the hollow, the same river rock that had proven its loyalty through the storms.
Lighting it now. After everything, this small flame feels like a victory.
The fire caught, burning low and steady beneath the floor, untouchable by any draft.
It's warm all the way to the floorboards. For the first time in years, my feet aren't blocks of ice.
That's the stone doing its work. It'll hold through the night.
Raymond sat back, a contented silence settling over him. The fire's crackle, a quiet hymn of change.
A grave, number, a foundation, for a warmer life.
That winter, every cabin in the settlement glowed from the floor, the orange light a promise kept. Inside the Reeves cabin, the family drew close to the sunken hearth. The warmth, a quiet language.
I don't even remember the last draft. The children's hands are warm all night.
All that mockery, and now they sleep sound. None of that matters, only the heat does.
The fire in the floor asked nothing, gave everything, and the family thrived in its circle. Across the settlement, wordless understanding spread. The old longhouse wisdom was alive again. No one called it a grave anymore. In the heart of winter, the settlement breathed as one, each cabin a pocket of warmth against the mountain cold.
We didn't invent anything. We just remembered what the earth had always known.
And the mountain winter, for all its fury, found no purchase in those glowing cabins. In the deep hush of the night, the embers of the sunken hearth pulsed like a sleeping heart. Michael and Alara sat side by side, their hands interlaced, watching the low flames dance.
Not a grave, a cradle. For every cold night the mountain could throw at us.
Far away, the longhouse ruin lay silent under the snow, its ancient hearth waiting. What Michael built was never new. It was the ember of a fire that had burned for 1,000 winters. The fire under the floor did not ask for praise. It simply endured. In that warm cabin, surrounded by the life he had protected, Michael understood. Wisdom is not always loud. Sometimes it is a low fire, burning below the floor, waiting to be remembered. And the longhouse stood sentinel in the snow, its secret now alive in every glowing cabin of the settlement. His fire burned below the floor, and the heat never left the room.